Hi, Chris Tenny-Brittian. If this is week one of our conflict utilization class here in the Center for Ministry and Lay Training of Phillips Theological Seminary, try to say that 2 times fast. Anyways, if you have not already, please go back to the homepage and watch the introductory video. That's going to walk you through this syllabus, expectations, and the like. I'm going to make sure and remind you of a few of those, but really need you to watch that. Also, if you haven't already, get on that discussion forum and introduce yourself to us. We want to know just a little bit about you, what church you go to, where you live, what role you play in your church. A lot of our students are not ministers, have never been ministers, never intend to be ministers. That one of those 3 categories, I'm sure, may somehow fit you. Or maybe you've been a minister and now you're retired, or serving in a different ministry setting or a different vocation. Wherever you are, you bring something into the mix of the class. Each of us, each of you, each of us are making this class what it is and what it's going to be. So make sure you introduce yourselves, will you? Also, not will you, introduce yourself. Thank you. If you will, turn to page 5 of your syllabus. Every week when I post, you've already seen that. I go through, here's what's happening this week, but I still need you to refer to your syllabus because it gives you the opportunity to read ahead, such as, see, you could already be reading up into week 2. Let me walk through these a little bit. George Bullard, every congregation needs a little conflict. George is amazing, really appreciate him, and is truly a colleague in this work that we call church consultation, church teaching, church minister coaching. We come at things a little bit differently from different angles, but they are complementary, compla with an E, mentory by all means. When you're reading George, you look at sometimes at the page assignments and you're going to say, what? So on this, you'll see it's 1 through 17, but in coming weeks, you'll notice when you're reading into week 2 that it says chapter 2, pages 18 through 21, and then page 24. That's because I have you skipping some of these pieces, like the coaching break. Skip the coaching break. At the end of chapters, we're going to skip the exercises, the personal reflections. So coaching insights, I believe we skip, but definitely the personal reflections. So just know that as you're reading George, do not do the work that he tells you to do in there. We'll come back for that. Oh my gosh, Kenneth Houck. This book saved my life when I was a minister at the Bellevue Christian Church. We rapidly grew. We went from 99 in worship, average worship attendance, to over 200, or right at 200. We were seeing baptism, adult baptisms every month. It was absolutely amazing type of work, but it was a real problem because it caused a lot of problems. And on a retreat, a spiritual director many years, then became a very good friend and colleague, recommended. In fact, she didn't just recommend this book. She gave me her torn up and tattered, held together with a rubber band copy of this book and said, you need this book. I went back, I shared it with the elders in my church, and said, we've got to read this book. And they gave it then to the board and said, we have to read this book. And the board, they weren't all extremely happy about it. But I loved about my elders, and I loved about my executive committee, was that we could sit in meetings, we could analyze the conflict, the situations, the circumstances that were going on around us. We could talk about a problem that was there, and someone would say, 74, it's on page 74. The liar flag, that's what's going on. And then Houck tells you how to address that, what to do with that. He has how to have meetings with people. This is an incredible book. You're going to love it. I promise. All right, and then there's my book. I wrote this while actually, I wrote this after or just before I left that very difficult church, Bellevue Christian Church. And I want to say this about Bellevue Christian Church. Incredible ministry going on there, incredible conflict, incredible history that went back almost not quite 50 years. And after I left, about, again, 5 years or so later, they closed, which is what we had predicted because they weren't working with the problems that were there. And after I left, within just a few months, they were back down to about 100 in worship where they were, and they quickly and rapidly declined to about 50. They weren't able to maintain their building, had to sell their building, tried nesting with other congregations, and then gave up the ghost, if you will. When I left, I said, listen, you have a lot of conflict and a lot of sadness, grief. They had, in that less than 50 years, they had fired every minister who'd come along. And there's a lot more to that story, but we just don't have time for me to tell it. So they did close. It was terribly sad. But did I say this? They had fired every minister who had served in all of those years. And I was bound and determined not to let that last one be me. It was not, thank God. And the next one who came there, he wasn't fired either. But what they really needed was somebody to come and to walk through and to help them deal with those pieces. And that didn't happen. And it did lead to their closure. Anyways, I was on a plane coming back from this retreat where I received antagonists, and I was there with a friend, another friend, and I'm writing down, oh my gosh, if people knew how to do this, if we could do this in our churches, if we could do that in our churches, it would really help us to diffuse, to change things around. Well, this was not the original name of this book, and what I had written on that plane became my dissertation, my doctoral dissertation, and its original title, well, the dissertation title is Shooting Ourselves in the Foot, How to Prevent Congregational Suicide. When Pilgrim Press picked up the book, they hated the title. They did not like the whole thought of suicide. And I said, but with all due respect, that's what churches do. We play with suicide. We don't do what we need to do to become healthy. We're not willing to work the work. In a lot of churches, you can go in and you actually can diagnose them with clinical depression. There's congregational depression. A lot of the mental illness diagnoses that are made for individuals parallel diagnoses that you could make in congregations. Congregational illness. That's what this book is set to address. Now, I want you to know that the metaphors that are in here, this whole piece of diffusing a time bomb, those metaphors are not the same metaphors, pretty equal content, same content, but not the same metaphors that I used in the suicide book, Preventing Congregational Suicide. And I'm waiting for us to buy out this book so that we can get the congregational suicide out there. We'll have our rights. If you'd like a copy of that, we can talk after this course is over, and we'll see if we can get that in your hand, or who knows, might be available on Amazon by then. Anyways, I just think that this is an important book. I wouldn't have written it if I didn't. All right, so you see what your reading is, right? And there on page 5, your introductory week 1. And after you do that, well, you're reading your VidLECTURE or watching your VidLECTURE, that's what this is. Then you're going to go to the discussion forum. The first question you're going to find every week, and that asks you, what did you read in Scripture this past week that amazed you, confused you, excited you, or scared you? Don't answer all of those. Sometimes people look for scriptures that they can say, I was amazed by this, I was excited by this, I wasn't really confused about anything, I was kind of scared about this. No, just pick one. What amazed you? Or what confused you? Or what excited you? Or what scared you? Pick one. You know what that means, don't you? You got to be reading scripture. If you're leading a Bible study or if you're preaching, you may not use that scripture. Please don't try to get over with it. Do not do that, because what we're trying to bring home is the need to be doing I lost my train of thought. What we're trying to do, devotional scripture reading. Now, some of you have taken my spiritual development class. If that is the case, if you're doing a practice, continuing to do your spiritual practices, awesome. I want you to be doing that, but I need you to be reading scripture this course, all my courses. I want you reading scripture. I want you reading it devotionally, not a scripture study. I don't care about the background. We don't want to know the background. I just want to hear what you were reading as you read it. We have to do that to take care of ourselves, because this conflict stuff will kill you if you're not careful. It can take you down. It can take you out. It will run you ragged if and when you engage it. So please, you need to be doing this every day anyways, whether you're dealing with conflict or not. It's what makes us Christians. More than that, it's what makes us disciples. And for you in the Christian church, disciples of Christ, it's what makes us little d disciples, not big D disciples. All right, so you're going to read, you're watching the vid lecture, you're going to the forum questions. There are 3 discussion forums. Sometimes there will be, or weeks there will be 2, some weeks there may be 4. And you have to engage in every one of those forums. Remember that you have to respond by 9 a.m. on Wednesday. And by Thursday, you have to be interacting with those that are in your cohort. This class is large enough that we have cohorts. There will be 3 to 4 of you in each cohort. The first question, though, this one with what did you read in Scripture, everyone will be able to share, and you can interact together in that. So you don't have to interact with everyone on that first question, but with 3. So interact with 3 people. On the rest, you've got to interact with your cohort. What does that mean? Responding to what they said. If they ask a question, look up an answer. Try to find an answer. If they are making a statement and you have something to add to it, add to it. Just make sure that what you do is an opinion-based, and if you're using an outside resource, you want to cite it. So make sure you cite it. Where did you get it? Name of the article or the book. Page numbers. If it's a website, we need that web address, the day that you accessed it. Always dates that you can find for those. I can't always find the dates. All right, so then you're going to interacting every day until noon on Saturday, through until noon on Saturday. The only reason you don't have to post on Saturday is that we get to see one another on Saturday morning at the end of the week session. End of the week session, the Zoom link to that is here on this page. You'll be able to find that link on over to it. It's from 9 until 9:30. Sometimes we've been known to go past that, but we're going to work really. Oh, actually, I noticed we've changed it because we've gone over so many times, 9 to 9:45. But friends, we're not going to 10 o'clock. So those of you that have had a class with me where we did this, a course with me that we did this, not 10 o'clock. Not 9:50. I'm going to set a timer. We're going to be done at 9:45. You can come in when you want. You can leave when you want. It's not going to be a problem. Just know if no one is there by 9:05, I believe it is, I'm going to leave. I'm going to figure that nobody is coming in this day, and we'll get on with Saturday. All right. You should know with that I guard my Saturdays very carefully, and so I only give up and give to life and life-giving opportunities or circumstances. So I believe that these end of the week sessions can be life-giving in some way. Maybe not to even to a personal life. My goal is to see and to help encourage, equip and encourage and empower churches that are effective and sustainable, effectively sustainable and sustainably effective. That's what I teach for here. All right. I'm going to leave you to it. Reading, if you haven't done it already, got the VidLECTURE taken care of. Get ready to get up on those discussion forums. You don't have to post until 9 a.m. on Wednesday, but you can post now. Now that we've seen each other, as long as your reading is done, don't post until your reading is done. But if you've done that, you can start posting right this moment if you'd like. Have a great week. I'm going to see you on the discussion forums. Hope to see you in person at the end of the week session. Not necessary. No brownie points. No points taken away if you're not there. Just would love to get to see you. All right. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.